In this video, I will be reading all the blue cards from the upcoming Magic the Gathering expansion, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. Aberrant Mind Sorcerer is a 3/4 human elf shaman creature for 4 generic and 1 blue mana. Has psionic spells. When Aberrant Mind Sorcerer enters the battlefield, choose target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard, then roll a d20. On a result of 1 through 9, you may put that card on top of your library. On 10 through 20, return that card to your hand. Air Cult Elemental is a 2/5 elemental creature for 4 generic and 2 blue mana. Has flying and whirlwind. When Air Cult Elemental enters the battlefield, return up to 1 other target creature to its owner's hand. Arcane Investigator is a 2/1 elf wizard creature for 1 generic and 1 blue mana. Has Search the Room, which is pay 5 generic and a blue to roll a d20. On 1 through 9, draw a card. On 10 through 20, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Rar the Gate is an instant for 2 generic and 1 blue mana. Counter target creature or planeswalker spell. Venture into the dungeon. The Blackstaff of Wardeep is a legendary artifact for 1 blue mana. You may choose not to untap the Blackstaff of Wardeep during your untap step. Has Animate Walking Statue, which reads pay 1 generic and 1 blue mana and tap it. Another target non-token artifact you control becomes a 4/4 artifact creature for as long as the Blackstaff of Wardeep remains tapped. Activate only as a sorcery. Charmed Sleep is an enchantment aura for 1 generic and 2 blue mana with enchant creature. When Charmed Sleep enters the battlefield, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Clever Conjurer is a 2/3 gnome wizard creature for 2 generic and 1 blue mana. It has Mage Hand, which reads tap, untap target permanent not named Clever Conjurer, activate only as a sorcery. Contact Other Plane is an instant for 3 generic and 1 blue mana. Roll a d20, 1 through 9, draw 2 cards, 10 through 19, scry 2, then draw 2 cards, 20, scry 3, then draw 3 cards. Demilich is a 4/3 skeleton wizard creature for 4 blue mana. This spell costs 1 blue less to cast for each instant and sorcery spell you've cast this turn. Whenever Demilich attacks, exile up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard, copy it, you may cast the copy. You may cast Demilich from your graveyard by exiling 4 instant and or sorcery cards from your graveyard in addition to paying its other costs. Displacer Beast is a 3/2 cat beast creature for 2 generic and 1 blue mana. When Displacer Beast enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon. It has Displacement, which reads pay 3 generic and 1 blue mana, return Displacer Beast to its owner's hand. Djinni Windseer is a 3/3 Djinn creature for 3 generic and 1 blue mana. It has flying. When Djinni Windseer enters the battlefield, roll a d20, 1 through 9, scry 1, 10 through 19, scry 2, 20, scry 3. Dragon Turtle is a 3/5 Dragon Turtle creature for 1 generic and 2 blue mana with Flash and Drag Below. When Dragon Turtle enters the battlefield, tap it and up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. They don't untap during their controller's next untap steps. Feceniric Apprentice is a 2/2 Tiefling Wizard creature for 2 generic and 1 blue mana with flying, and when Feceniric Apprentice enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've completed a dungeon, up to 1 target creature becomes a bird with base power and toughness 1/1 and flying until end of turn. Feywild Trickster is a 2/2 gnome warlock creature for 2 generic and 1 blue mana. Whenever you roll 1 or more dice, create a 1/1 blue fairy dragon creature token with flying. Fly is an enchantment aura for 1 blue mana. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has flying, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon. Grazilaxx, Ithilid Scholar, is a 3/2 legendary horror creature for 1 generic and 2 blue mana. Whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may return it to its owner's hand. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. Guild Thief is a 1/1 orc rogue creature for 1 generic and 1 blue mana. Whenever Guild Thief deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And it has Cunning Action, which reads pay 3 generic and 1 blue. Guild Thief can't be blocked this turn. Imrith Desert Doom is a 5/5 legendary dragon creature for 3 generic and 2 blue mana. It has flying, and Imrith Desert Doom has Ward 4 as long as it's untapped. Whenever Iymrith deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Then if you have fewer than 3 cards in hand, draw cards equal to the difference. Mind Flayer is a 3/3 horror creature for 3 generic and 2 blue mana. With Dominate Monster, when Mind Flayer enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature for as long as you control Mind Flayer. Mordekainen is a legendary planeswalker Mordekainen for 4 generic and 2 blue mana. It enters with 5 loyalty counters. +2, draw 2 cards, then put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. -2, create a blue dog illusion creature token with this creature's power and toughness are each equal to twice the number of cards in your hand. -10, exchange your hand and library, then shuffle. You get an emblem with you have no maximum hand size. Mordekainen's Polymorph is an instant for 1 generic and 1 blue mana. Until end of turn, target creature becomes a dragon with base power and toughness 4/4 and gains flying. Pixie Guide is a 1/3 fairy creature for 1 generic and 1 blue mana with flying, and grant an advantage if you would roll 1 or more dice. Instead, roll that many dice +1 and ignore the lowest roll. Power of Persuasion is a sorcery for 2 generic and 1 blue mana. Choose target creature an opponent controls, then roll a d20. 1 through 9, return it to its owner's hand. 10 through 19, its owner puts it on the top or bottom of their library. 20, gain control of it until the end of your next turn. Ray of Frost is an enchantment aura for 1 generic and 1 blue mana. It has flash, enchant creature. When Ray of Frost enters the battlefield, if enchanted creature is red, tap it. As long as enchanted creature is red, it loses all abilities. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Rimeshield Frost Giant is a 4/4 giant warrior creature for 3 generic and 2 blue mana. It has ward of 3 generic mana. Scion of Siyzia is a 2/1 Tiefling Shaman creature for 2 generic and 1 blue mana. It has Flash and Cone of Cold. When Scion of Siyzia enters the battlefield, choose target creature an opponent controls, then roll a d20. 1 through 9, tap that creature. 10 through 20, tap that creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Secret Door is a 0/4 artifact creature wall for 1 blue mana with Defender. Pay 4 generic and 1 blue, venture into the dungeon, activate only as a sorcery. Shocking Grasp is an instant for 1 generic and 1 blue mana. Target creature gets -2/-0 until end of turn. Draw a card. Shortcut Seeker is a 2/5 human rogue creature for 3 generic and 1 blue mana. Whenever Shortcut Seeker deals combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon. Silver Raven is a 1/1 artifact creature bird for 1 blue mana. Has flying. When Silver Raven enters the battlefield, scry 1. Soulknife Spy is a 3/2 elf rogue creature for 2 generic and 1 blue mana. Whenever Soulknife Spy deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Split the Party is a sorcery for 3 generic and 2 blue mana. Choose target player, return half the creatures they control to their owner's hand, rounded up. Sudden Insight is an instant for 4 generic and 2 blue mana. Draw a card for each different mana value among non-land cards in your graveyard. Tasha's Hideous Laughter is a sorcery for 1 generic and 2 blue mana. Each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until that player has exiled cards with total mana value 20 or more. Trickster's Talisman is an artifact equipment for 1 blue mana. Has Invoke Duplicity, equipped creature gets +1/+1, and has whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice Trickster's Talisman. If you do, create a token that's a copy of this creature. Has equipped 2. True Polymorph is an instant for 4 generic and 2 blue mana. Target artifact or creature becomes a copy of another target artifact or creature. Wizard Class is a class enchantment for 1 blue mana. Begins with you have no maximum hand size. Level 2 for 2 generic and 1 blue. When this class becomes level 2, draw 2 cards. For 4 generic and a blue. For level 3, whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Wizard Spellbook is an artifact for 5 generic and 2 blue mana. Tap, exile target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard, roll a d20, activate only as a sorcery. 1 through 9, copy that card, you may cast the copy. 10 through 19, copy that card, you may cast the copy by paying 1 generic mana rather than paying its mana cost. 20, copy each card exiled with Wizard Spellbook, you may cast any number of the copies without paying their mana costs. You Come to a River is an instant for 1 generic and 1 blue mana. Choose 1, fight the current, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, or find a crossing. Target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn and can't be blocked this turn. You Find the Villains Lair is an instant for 1 generic and 2 blue mana. Choose 1, foil their scheme, counter target spell, or learn their secrets. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. You see a guard approach is an instant for 1 blue mana. Choose 1, distract the guard, tap target creature, or hide. Target creature you control gains hexproof until end of turn. Yuan-Ti Malia is a 2/1 snake rogue creature for 1 generic and 1 blue mana. Yuan-Ti Malia can't be blocked as long as it's attacking alone. Whenever Yuan-Ti Malia deals combat damage to a player, venture into the dungeon. That'll do it for blue cards. Like the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the future installments of this, and hopefully we'll see you next time.